As I am filming this, it is the hottest day in the UK today, so I apologise for the sweaty face. I want to try and make this quick. I have had to turn the fan off and close the window just so that you're able to hear me. So we're going to jump straight into this week's video, which is cake etiquette. So cake etiquette is something that I have already talked about. I did a blog post on it back in 2016, but I thought I would turn it into a video so you could either listen to it or stick me on in the background while you're doing something rather than have to sit there and read it all. So what does cake etiquette mean? So in every world that you step in, there is some sort of unwritten rule that maybe you don't even know about until you're in there. So I don't go to the gym, as you can tell. I can't think of a worse place. But even in the gym, there's like an unwritten rule. So it's not written on the wall, or it might be, but there's certain rules, such as if you finish with a machine and you've been laid on it and you sweat all over it, especially on a day like today, it is good practice to wipe your sweat off that seat with a towel, ready for the next person. So that is an unwritten rule. It's something that you do that is courteous, because if you don't do it, you're either gonna just annoy some people a little bit, or they're going to judge you as a massive a-hole. So that's the gym world, and we have unwritten rules in the cake world. Again, they're just unwritten rules. They're not laws. You don't have to do them, but these are a few little tips, especially helpful if you're a beginner. I can remember when I first started, I did loads of these things wrong. I didn't even know what I was doing was wrong. I was a beginner. Like I said, you don't know about the rules until you're actually in there. When I started joining cake groups and forums and then people were posting their bugbears, I realised that I was one of those people doing those things. So you just learn the rules, fix it up, make sure you're not annoying anybody. So let's jump into rule number 1, copying cake designs. Yep, some people love it and some people hate it. Some people say you should be flattered by it, and others want to send you to the fiery pit of hell. Whichever way you look at it, it's going to be done. So firstly, this is just my opinion. You are free to disagree with me, but my view is that if I am taking inspiration from wallpaper, which I have done, and carpets, which I have done, greetings cards, gift bags, patterns online, artists and other cake artists. If I am taking inspiration from all those things and I'm allowing myself to be inspired by these things, it would be pretty crappy of me to not let you be inspired by me. So how can I be inspired but you're not allowed to? The best thing you can do is ask. If you receive a picture from a customer and they definitely want that cake, try and hunt that original designer down and ask permission. That is good practice number 1. If they say yeah, you're good to go. If they say no, you should really be respectful and not copy it, and just try and explain that to the customer and say that you'll design something else. Personally, if you ask me, I will always say yes. So you don't even actually have to ask me, because I am giving you permission right now. Any cake I have made, any tutorial I have made, feel free to copy it. This is where good practice number 2 comes in. If you have been given permission from another cake decorator or whoever you've taken inspiration from, or you want to copy one of mine, the best thing you can do is give credit. I cannot express this enough. All it takes is when you post that picture online, a little line underneath saying, this carousel cake was inspired by, tag the creator. Let people know who it was who inspired you. That way you're not deceiving people into thinking that you have designed the entire thing. You've given credit where it's due, and you can't really ask for more than that. I am super happy with that. I am even happier if you have done a tutorial and you've told them where to find the tutorial on my channel. That is super helpful. Sharing is caring. So I know a few of you might say, well, what if I don't know who the original designer is? There are a few tools. You can head to Google. Google has an images tab, and if you click on this, you can actually either upload the picture from your desktop, or you can insert the link of where you found it online. This is especially helpful if the picture doesn't have a watermark. Once you upload that picture to Google, Google will search the internet and try and find a match. Now this match could be directly on the designer's website, which is bingo, you found the original designer. Sometimes it can take you to Pinterest or Instagram, where you may have to do a little extra digging and a few more clicks. But it is pretty good at finding the original designer. If that fails, ask in a group. Some of the cake groups online, especially Facebook, are absolutely huge and they are full with like-minded cake makers. We all have our favourite cake makers. We can all see whose style cakes are without even a watermark. But just ask in a group, maybe people will know who made it. If you still can't find them, the best thing you can do is still credit. So when you make the cake and you upload it, all you have to write is inspired by an image I found on Google. If anybody knows the original designer, please let me know. I have had to in the past say inspired by the thousands of Toy Story cakes on Google because I just picked little bits from each one. But yeah, that's where it can go wrong if you do not give credit. It can annoy some people a little bit because you're kind of taking credit for something that they've spent quite a few hours designing, or maybe weeks. So it's just a nice thing to do. Again, it's not the law. You don't have to, but you know, it's nice to. So sometimes I'll get notifications on Instagram when you have tagged me to say that I've inspired you. If you're wondering, I'm over on Instagram for my cakes at Cherry Cake Co, and my vlog Instagram is Cherry Cake Vlog. So I got a tag on this Harry Potter cake. Those of you who are Little Cherry YouTube fans may recognise this. It was one of my very early tutorials. And the lovely Sarah's Handcrafted Cakes has followed my tutorial, posted the image on her Instagram, and underneath says, finally got to do a Harry Potter cake. Big shout out to the awesome Tracy at Little Cherry Cake Company for the tutorial. Big thumbs up from me. She has credited me for the design and also let people know that it was a tutorial. Joonietan on Instagram also did exactly the same. She recreated one of my very old gamer designs. This was quite a few years ago now. Made it for her own clients, tweaked it a little bit, and still credited me underneath the image. Now I don't always get notified, but when I do, if you've credited me, I will more than likely leave you a comment underneath. So on this one, I said, yay, it looks awesome. Thank you so much for the credit, because it does mean a lot to the original designers. I have lost count how many Instagram feeds I've come across, and I've been excited looking through the cakes. And it's funny, when they've copied other people's designs, I can actually name. Like, I know this just doesn't just happen to me. Like, when you know somebody's style and somebody's copied a cake, you can say, oh, that one was from Royal Bakery. Oh, that one's always Fancy Cakes. Oh, and this one quite looks like mine. You do see it. And then I'll click on the image to see what they've said, only to find that they haven't given credit. Now, like I said, it's not a law, but it does leave you feeling a little bit deflated that that person hasn't decided to credit the original designer. And I know you're probably going to ask, but where does it end? Like, a burger cake is a burger cake. And there's millions of burger cakes. I mean, if it's something that's supposed to look like an object, I wouldn't say you need to credit anybody for a burger cake, unless you have copied somebody down to a T, to the placement, the colouring. Maybe they've done a unique way of doing it and you've copied that. If it's a burger cake or a trainer cake or a bucket of Kentucky, that looks like the item it's supposed to look like. You haven't gone and copied something very specific. You do just have to use a little bit of common sense. Like I said, me personally, you can copy anything I make, any tutorials I make. As long as you leave me a credit, it's all good. Knock yourself out. Right, so we've talked about that one long enough. I want to turn my fan back on, I'm sweating. You can tell it's warm when your little arm creases are sweating. Too warm in the UK. Right, so that brings me on to unwritten rule number 2. Photo theft. Yep, we're not talking about copying designs, we're talking about taking a photo that isn't yours from the internet and passing it around as if it is. So this is pretty much false advertising, and I used to see it a lot on local selling sites when somebody had just started up and they were making cupcakes. It was close to Mother's Day. They would hand pick a few Mother's Day cupcakes from Google. They'd literally type it in, Mother's Day cupcakes. That looks easy, that looks easy, that looks cool. I think I'd get a lot of orders for that. They just grab them all from Google and put them in an album and then say, Mother's Day cupcakes, £5 a box. You cannot do that. Please don't do that. What you're doing when you're putting that price on this object People are going to think you have made these. They are going to get an exact replica of what's in the image. And if you knew, yes, some things can look easy, but let me tell you, cakes and cupcakes are harder than they look. You might be able to pull them off and get away with it, but a lot of the times, people don't get away with it. That's where you end up seeing the what they ordered and what they got. If you want to create a cake that you've seen online or a set of cupcakes, the best thing you can do is make it. Make it from scratch. Photograph it. That photograph is yours. Share that. People can see in that image is what you've made, and that is what they're going to get. Please do not rob people's photos. In fact, I've just remembered this is a good example. There's a place near us that has like several businesses in one building, but nobody mans the little shacks that they're in. It's like you take everything to the till at the end in one till and they get a percentage. I don't know. That's besides the point. But there's a little cake place where they were selling bagged fruit, like iced fruit cakes with characters on. So me being me, it's like, oh, cake! Like I don't have enough of that at home. I went in to look at the cakes. Now there was a book in there and it was a portfolio of cakes. It said portfolio on the front. So I'm flicking through. I'm like, oh yeah, Princess Castle. And then I start flicking a bit further and I'm like, that's from Debbie Brown's book. Flick another page. That's Lindy Smith's cake. And then flick up, you can definitely tell she's made that one just by how the photography looks. You can tell which one she'd made from the photography versus one she'd taken out of books and the internet. Just as I was starting to think, oh wow, she's taking people's photos, a little note dropped out the centre. I bent down and picked this note up and there was some masked cake superhero that had written a letter saying, I am very disappointed that you have stolen other cake designers' images to pass off as your own. Please do not use other people's designs. So somebody had clearly looked through this book and decided to leave this message. But to be honest, she was right. You cannot use other people's photos and pretend that you have made them. By all means, copy the cake and take pictures of your own cake. Just don't rob them, please. Unwritten rule number 3. I know you're not actually supposed to read the comment section. People say to stay away from the comment section online. But you do have to engage with people who take the time out of their day to say how much they like your cake. I will happily reply to those, but just be aware when you're posting online, comment section is pretty much seen by all. I have already mentioned I am quite happy for you to copy my cakes. After all, that is what the tutorials are there for. What does get a little bit annoying is if I have spent a good week painstakingly designing this cake, pulling it all together to make sure it looks right. I'm excited to post it online. Up it goes at 7 o'clock and at 7:03 somebody in the comments has said, tag friend, I'm going to copy this for your birthday next week. Yes, I know. I'm quite happy for you to copy it. It's just a bit naff that it's been online for a whole of 3 minutes and you've already told me you're just going to rip it off. I don't, maybe just keep it to yourself. Maybe just copy it quietly. Like I said, I've got no problem with it. It's just like, oh, I spent weeks on this and you're just going to copy it straight away. And I'm sure other cake makers as well, there are the odd comments from the general public who will tag a cake making friend and say, you could make this better. I know that, and then the other cake decorators died inside because their mum has tagged them in it or something. So yeah, let's just try and make the comment section a nice place to be. I am very lucky. I have quite a few nice messages. Very rare I get a nasty one. So I always try, especially on Instagram, that's kind of where I am as I'm scrolling through my feed. I try to leave as many positive comments as possible, because nobody wants to read a negative one. Spread the love. Another little bit of the comment section is those one-word requests. Recipe, tutorial, what cutter. I see it all the time, especially on other people's pages, and I just want to sit there like Kermit the Frog. Where are your manners? Being British, manners are quite a big thing, especially to me. All it takes is, I love your cake. I have some ruffles to do this week. Can you please let me know how you made them? They would come in really handy. Thank you. If somebody's just barking recipe with either no please and thank yous, they haven't even submitted a little bit of complimentary wording, It's just not very nice. I find people are more willing to share if you just use your manners. Unwritten rule number, are we on 4? I think it's 4. Lying. Now this shouldn't even be a rule, but you see it all the time. Where somebody has made an amazing cake, you can quite clearly tell that it's a plastic topper or a doll, which is not a problem at all, but it is when you start telling people that it's made of sugar paste. It just doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the people who you're inspiring, and it also doesn't help you, because then if a big company goes, oh my god, I want that edible doll, and you have to try and recreate it, but it's not an edible doll, is it? It's plastic. I honestly, I don't know why people do it. I don't know whether it's to make themselves look more skilled or better, but it just doesn't help anybody. Like, I have several cakes, and I can remember somebody asking me what cake lace mat I used. I didn't use any cake lace mat, it was actually real lace. One, it was cheaper, quicker, and it looked good. So I wasn't about to tell anybody that it was real cake lace and that I'd just managed to find a mat that nobody else could get their hands on. It was real lace from the lace shop. Same with the glass globes. People always ask me if it's gelatin or if it's edible. Nope, it's a glass globe. I don't know what I'd get from it if I told you that it was gelatin. I can imagine being asked on TV, like, can you recreate this gelatin ball? I'm like, no, don't make me do that. It's just glass. And last tip, number 5, stay away from drama. This should be obvious, but from time to time, people do get sucked in. Just don't engage with it. Every now and again in the cake world, something will pop up and cause a ton of drama. And people always have to have their say. Just let it go. Go into your kitchen. I would say do something cake related, but I'm more likely to eat a biscuit. Go and get yourself a biscuit. Go make a brew. Ignore it. Do your own thing. Because it just never looks good. So yeah, I think I've covered everything. The blog post is very, very similar. I will leave it linked below if you would prefer to read it. Not that you would now after you just watch this whole thing. But yeah, the biggest thing is leave credit where it's due. Ask permission. Like I said, don't ask me. I get a lot of them. You're fine, good to go. Don't send me any more. I'm giving you permission. Yes, you can copy. But always ask other people, because you never know. And don't be mad at them either if they say no. It's their decision. They might think completely differently to I do, and that is absolutely fine. Maybe you hate being copied and you completely disagree with me. That's fine. Just always remember to be respectful. And with that, I am going to turn my fan on and stick my little feet, my little cocktail sausage toes, in front of that fan. See you next week.